Welcome to the July episode of Driven to Lead, the leadership podcast empowering current and emergent leaders throughout Cobb County. I'm Dr. Jackie McMorris. Today, I'm sitting down with Director Michael Register, head of Cobb's Department of Public Safety. With his distinguished career spanning military service in the United States Army Special Forces, high-level law enforcement leadership, and roles at the Georgia Bureau of Investigation and the Department of Defense, Director Register brings a rich perspective on leadership in complex and rapidly changing environments. So today we'll be discussing the book, Team of Teams, New Rules of Engagement for a Complex World by General Stanley McChrystal. It's a powerful blueprint for transforming rigid organizations into agile, resilient networks, and Director Register's own career mirrors the lessons found within the pages of the book. From shared consciousness to empowered execution, today's conversation explores how modern public safety and leadership demand adaptability, trust, and collaboration. So let's dive in. So Director, why did you choose this particular book?
I think the book is relevant to public safety because of the operational environment that public safety operates in is constantly evolving. When you look at the premise of the book, General McChrystal, who was the JSOC, Joint Special Operations Command commander in Iraq, he was faced with an insurgency led by Al-Qaeda that was constantly changing, agile, flexible, and changed their tactics daily, weekly. And he found that the way that they were addressing the insurgency was how they addressed things in the past. Our military forces were not agile. They were not flexible, and he knew to overcome the insurgency, he was going to have to change tactics. And so he looked at his forces. And instead of looking at them from a totalitarian standpoint, he started to segment them into various teams because different areas, there was different tactics being used. And so he truly envisioned that the organization is a team of teams. And I think that we can look at public safety in the same way.
Right. Team of teams, in a nutshell, means what to you in public safety, though?
Well, you know, we do look at organizations from an organizational standpoint, but most organizations, especially public safety, is made up of various teams within that organization. Police department, you have patrol, you have investigations. Fire department, you may have a hazmat team. You may have a med ops team, but they all have the same mission and they all have their specific value to execute that mission. So to me, how to bring those teams together in order to facilitate the ultimate mission of the agency and public safety at large.
I often try to encourage our leaders, including our BOC, to think about Cobb as one Cobb. There is no organization that can work effectively in a silo or by itself. Would you agree?
I agree. And you know, one of the things that he brought out in the book is something called a shared awareness or shared conscience. And really what that means is that everyone needs to have alignment or understanding of, or the same understanding of the mission, the vision, the issues, the successes, because we all see things differently and we have our own perspectives. So let's look at the All-Star game. We started planning that a year ago. Okay, what does that really mean to the fire department? What does that mean to the police department? What does that mean to E911? It meant different things, but even though they were looking at it differently, we had to have a shared conscience because at the end, we all had to integrate in order to achieve a safe and enjoyable All-Star Week.
To include other departments like Department of Transportation and Information Services and all of the technology that went into making the All-Star Game such a success. So let's just stay on All-Star Game for a moment. Congratulations.
Well,
your
thank
team
you.
And all of the departments that were intimately involved, as you said, for a whole year, we can give ourselves a shout out, a kudos, because it was a successful event, and in part because of Team of Teams, right? So it's important that we understand how important that really is. I want to go to something else that McChrystal talks about in the book, and he says we often strive for efficiency, but the book makes a case for adaptability. Why do you think organizations are still stuck in only the efficiency mindset?
Well, you know, you and I both know that efficiency is important.
It is.
Efficiency is getting the job done with the least amount of waste. But we find that, how do we define efficiency? As the operational environment in the world around us changes, how we look at and determine efficiency, the metrics that we use, it has to change too. And where efficiency is very important, you find that efficiency basically pertains to a static environment or an environment that we can predict. Just like in the book, and when he was fighting Al-Qaeda, to public safety, our environment is not static, right? We have to be able to adapt. And so having that ability to adapt, I think, is one of the most important things that we can do. You know, when you look at any organization or any mission, how can we do it efficiently to make sure that the outcome is effective, right? And in order to bridge the gap between efficiency and effectiveness, there has to be adaptability, because look at the All-Star game again. You know, we had tabletop exercises, right?
Yes.
One of the tabletop exercises involved an active shooter. What would we do? That's very complex. That's very complicated. But we have to adapt, because if that would have occurred, what if it would have occurred with not one, but 3 active shooters at one time?
Right.
How would we adapt to that? And so I think that is what General McChrystal was trying to say, is that organizations, to be successful, have to be able to adapt. And in order to adapt, each team within that organization has to have adaptability potential too.
How do you shift, because shift happens or has to happen, from this is the way we've always done it mindset to an adaptability mindset? How do you do that within the organization? How do you get your team to shift?
Well, one way that we tried to, and I'll answer this in 2 parts.
Okay.
One part is to gather that shared conscience. And the only way to do that, every Monday we have an operations meeting at 2 o'clock. All the agency heads and all the supporting staff of public safety get together. We talk about everything from human resources, personnel, decision points, operations. And what you find is that problems that the fire department may be having, E911 has had, and we have crosstalk.
That's right.
Police department, the same way. Animal services, EMA, and so it helps us grow, because we can attack certain issues from an experience perspective, or just have an honest discussion on how we would handle that. So many times, the one department will be looking at some technology, and another department says, "Hey, we were going to start looking for something like that in the future," and it gives us an opportunity to really integrate public safety here in Cobb County. But you have to look at the drivers of public safety. Workforce nuances.
Wow.
They're there.
Yeah.
The evolving operational environment with the community, the sophistication of crime, other things that evolve. For instance, TKE, 40-story building in Cobb County. 10 years ago, we probably did not have the capabilities to address maybe a high-angle rescue. So when we talk about the evolving operational environment, We have to look at economic development. Are we going to have a 50-story building here in Cobb County? And what does that mean to the fire department if they have to do a rescue, not when the building is completed, but as it's being built? Technology, everything from technology giving us better data, to have a more data-driven focus like our real-time crime center, how we use drones in order to make our forces, public safety, more efficient, more effective, more adaptable, right? And also taking that into account with the workforce, with the environment, with the technology, that helps us start to develop strategies for the future that are holistic and comprehensive in nature.
And a lot of organizations struggle with that change, with trying to shift from the way that they've always done something to this new way of, or new perspective, new adaptability. What advice would you give to leaders who sometimes want to hold on to the way they've always done things rather than being open-minded to the shift that needs to take place?
Well, I think as human beings, you're not the same person you were 15 years ago. I'm not. We've had different experiences, different things, different priorities. And so we grow as individuals, and leaders have to do the same thing. The way we lead the current workforce today is certainly, I would hope, different than how we led the workforce 15 years ago. I think leaders today have to be more situational. I think leaders today have to understand that we have to address the current problem set we have organizationally, internal and external, but leaders today have to envision what that's going to look like internal and external 3 years from now, 5 years from now, and start to plan for it. Nothing stays static. I mean, look at law enforcement. There was a time when police chiefs, let's respond to crime, a call for service, let's investigate it, and let's make sure that we're good stewards of our resources. But today, social media is a driver, news input, the needs of the community, right? All that goes into the changing fabric of the community that we live in. And we have to change. And when I say we, it's a leader's job to facilitate that change, to make sure that we are changing with the environment, with our community, and we're prepared to address the future needs.
So talk to me about what you perceive to be your greatest leadership trait.
Greatest leadership trait, I think I try to understand the value of individuals. I think that everyone certainly sees things differently because we're all different. And I try to embrace that. I remember as being the chief down in Clayton County, I had an open door policy, and I had a recruit in a mandate class. We had our own mandate also. He asked my executive assistant if he could come and speak with me. Now, he's a recruit. He's only been there, I think, 4 or 5 weeks at the time. I could have easily said no. But I said, I do have an open door policy, and I let him come and speak with me. He had a degree in computer science, and he saw something that he could build for the training unit from a computer standpoint, from a program standpoint, software standpoint, that would be more efficient. And I asked him if he would do that and demonstrate it to the training command and myself. He came back a couple of weeks later with a prototype that he had built. And as far as I know, they still use that today. But think about that. If I would have said, hey, he's just a recruit, but he had a different experience. He had a different perspective, and I was lucky enough to have him come in and explain what he was trying to do and understood it, and it made our training function much better.
Yeah. So I hear so many themes in what you're talking about. One, listening, a willingness to continue to learn regardless of position. Here's a recruit. Here you are, an erudite in your own right, from all of the experiences that you have, and here you are saying, here's something someone has to offer that not only makes us more efficient, but again, that crosstalk. He better understands what you're doing, and you can better understand what he has to offer. And I think so often we forget that everyone has value and can offer something to the organization if we're willing to listen. How has, if at all, politics seeps into the way that you lead or the way that you have to adapt to leadership these days?
You know, I think that any leader at your level, my level, we have to understand that politics is an element that we have to address. You know, every time a leader makes a decision, he or she has to think, what's the community going to think? What's the men and women going to think?
Right.
What's my boss going to think?
Right.
And the political structure or direction of the political structure at that time, what are they going to think? So each of those entities are going to have a different perception of that decision. I have found very rarely do they all align, even though that is the intent. We try to make it align, but there's nothing wrong with understanding that there's a political aspect, because our elected officials are elected by the community, and they kind of set the strategic direction and the vision for the county. And as you know, with implementing our new strategic planning initiative, that we and our various agencies and departments try to align with that. Because, you know, when you talk about alignment strategically, the subordinate departments try to align with the agency, direction, and the agency within the county tries to align with the county's strategic direction and goals. They do.
They can cascade up or down, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So I appreciate that, because again, it talks about the complexity of an organization. What's the difference in your mind between complex and complicated, and maybe when have you had to lead differently because of both?
Well, you know, from a public safety standpoint, anything that we plan for tends to be complicated. Right? There's so many things that you have to look at in order to ensure, especially if it's a major event like the All-Star, you know, and again, fires
World
looking
Series.
at World
Had
Series,
that too, right?
Fires looking at it one way, police departments looking at it one way, but it's very complicated to bring all of the entities together to include agencies outside of public safety, like DOT, right, and some of our other partners, right. So that is complicated in itself, but what becomes complex is when unforeseen things occur. And that's really the difference. And in order to address the complexities that may occur, you have to train for that, but you have to be adaptable. I remember in my special forces team, we were in Afghanistan, and we had a catastrophic event that occurred that took 3 of the team members out of play, and we had a mission, but because of how we trained and the redundancy that we had instilled in the team, we were able to adapt and complete the mission. And, you know, as you know, during the All-Star, nothing major happened, but every day
That's right.
you were on the ground, I was
Yeah.
on the ground. Every day there were things that occurred, decisions that had to be made to address things that were unforeseen.
That's right.
And so we very quickly adapted,
That's right.
made those changes, and it was seamless.
Yeah, because we say shift happens.
Shift happens.
Shift happens. All right, there's a couple more questions for you. So how can leaders model humility and still lead effectively?
You know, I had a team sergeant that told me years and years ago, John Carlisle, and he said, the loudest person in the room is not always the strongest. And I think that leaders show strength through understanding.
Yeah.
They show strength through showing the value they put on the workforce, but they also show strength through their character, their ethics, how they lead by example.
Right.
Right? They set the tone of where they want the organization to go. They set the tone on how they want the organization to be perceived. And I've got to tell you, it's not about muscles, it's about inner strength when you have to make the hard decision.
True.
That is the best decision for the organization. It may not be the popular decision,
That's right.
but it's a decision that protects the organization. And I think leaders that are willing to make those hard decisions and are willing to make a decision that is a decision that is hard when they could have took an easier path with
Right.
another decision, I think that's when leaders truly show strength.
Right.
They show their character, they show their ethics, and they also show their commitment to the organization. And to show your commitment to the organization, by proxy, you're showing your commitment to every person that works in that organization.
That is so true.
And
So
I
true.
think that in turn, the workforce sees that, they respect that.
And I think the workforce respects a humble leader. We don't always get it right all the time, but we certainly try. And when we don't get it right, and we acknowledge that there was something that could have been done differently with our management team or whatever, it does show them that we are human, right?
It does, and I think that again, the loudest person in the room is not always the strongest. I do think that a leader, a humble leader, is someone who prefers to give the applause to someone else. Because even going back to the All-Star, you were there every day, I was there every day, but the men and women who were there on the ground, they were the ones who created
That's
the
right.
success,
Yeah,
not us.
that's right.
We helped in the planning, but they executed.
True, true.
And there are times, even in our weekly meetings, we'll have a conversation about a direction that we want to go in. And I'll come in there and I will have my mind made up, but we'll have that discussion.
That's right.
And guess what? We don't go in that direction
Yeah.
because they've convinced me there's a better way to do that. And I think that type of leader, I think that you build trust, you build transparency, and good communication with your team. They appreciate that, and I think that makes the team much, much stronger.
Alrighty, so what's the hardest habit to unlearn when shifting from commander to coach?
I think from commander is easy to sometimes give a directive or an order. But I think with the high performing teams that I have in public safety and doing some of the other things I've done in my life, it's more of a discussion. It's more of assisting them. It's more of helping them get to their highest potential, personally and professionally.
Yes.
You know, I can tell someone to go and do this or do that, but I'd much rather for them to understand why they're doing it than just do it.
Yeah.
Because if they understand the why, then it's helping them grow as a person, professionally, and also as a future leader.
That's right. And that's our job, right? As leaders, is to grow the next group of really good and effective, conscientious leaders.
Yeah, no doubt, because that's one day that will be your legacy.
That's right.
You know, it will be my legacy to build the leaders and leave this organization in the hands of leaders that we helped build. You know, for 4 or 5 years I was out at the training academy for the police department, and every time I go out there, I walk down the hall with all the pictures of the graduates and current interim chief, all the deputy chiefs, Chief Van Hooser. They were in my training class. I was Sergeant Register back then. But man, I can't tell you how that makes me feel to see how far they've come in their career, and how happy it makes me to believe that I had a part to play in that.
That's exciting, isn't it?
It is.
It gives me goosebumps, because you know, you can have this storied career, and you certainly have, and we're so proud to have you here with us again at Cobb. But one of the greatest, I think, accomplishments is to see a little bit of what you've tried to impart in someone, and you just see them, you know, just grow and continue to grow, and you see them now doing that in their own way with their team members. So I so appreciate you taking the time today to talk to me and to give us clear, demonstrative examples of a team of teams. So thank you so much, Director.
Well, I appreciate you and your leadership too, Dr. McMorris.
Absolutely. Thank you. That wraps up an enlightening conversation with Director Register. His insights on leadership, culture, and adapting to complexity remind us why books like Team of Teams are more relevant than ever before. So as we navigate today's fast-paced and unpredictable world and workforce, the shift from command to control to connection and collaboration is not just smart, it's essential. Be sure to subscribe, leave a comment, and don't forget to include your work location and share this episode with your team or colleagues. One commenter will be randomly selected to receive a copy of Team of Teams and some exclusive Driven to Lead swag. So if you're a leader seeking to foster trust, transparency, and resilience within your organization, consider picking up a copy of Team of Teams and initiating a conversation in the workplace. So thank you for watching. Next time, we'll have DOT Director Drew Ressler. Until next time, lead boldly, stay connected, and continue building your team of teams. Take care.